This is web conference session number 2. Welcome to those of you who are with us live today, and welcome to our virtual listeners. My name is Yolanda, and I will be your facilitator today. With this session today, our learning objectives are: you're going to be able to identify the future directions that institutions of higher learning must take to improve the quality and success of online learning. We're also going to be able to predict future directions of innovative technologies in higher education, and we're going to describe the impact of MOOCs on higher education. So let's, for a moment, take a mental walk back in time. Let's look back at how education was delivered a couple of decades ago. Most all classes were held in a brick and mortar building. Usually classes were held in very large lecture halls. Now let's look at our classrooms now. The classrooms may be a typical classroom, or it may exist in your own home. Technology has transformed teaching and learning in higher education. Learning has gone from taking notes and listening to lectures to a flipped classroom approach where students take a more active approach to learning. Learning has gone from the paper and pen to tablets and iPads, from crowded lecture halls to workstations, and to the comfort of my own home and your home, and you can even take it with you on vacation. A transformational change is occurring within higher education. There is no doubt that e-learning has been a catalyst of change and has been instrumental in creating learning environments in a scholarly culture. No longer is education about the amount of lectures students hear, but it's about the quality of the learning experience. The main issue now is how do institutions of higher learning adapt to the change and lead and manage it. Some institutions are very successful and others will not be so successful. So the big idea here is, from Garrison, is that e-learning is disruptive technology in traditional institutions of higher education because it threatens the sustaining technology, the lecture. So I would like for you just to kind of think back and what your struggles are with your learning as a student, as an educator. And I want you also to think about what has been outstanding. What was an outstanding experience for you? I'll just take a moment to reflect on it. When you're done, go ahead and click on the green check mark. Okay, would anybody like to just grab hold of the talk microphone and just tell us a little bit about your outstanding experience?
Sure, I'll go first. This is Craig, and I do have some previous experience with online learning as both a student and an educator. But I do remember many years ago when I delivered online training classes as an educator. I just remember that often the students that I had that took this type of learning were very highly motivated. In some cases, it was by choice that they were taking the online form. And when those students were motivated to do the training in the online format, the experience did turn out very well.
So as you know, when I was putting this together, I was thinking about my outstanding experiences too, and the classes that we're currently taking are outstanding. But I can think of some other ones too that I've had, and they've all been similar in that they found ways to create that community of learners by getting us to work together as groups, bringing us together. Maybe if it's online, we come together maybe for an online session like once a week, or maybe even just by chatting in a discussion board. And so I think all of the components of what we learned about last week, the community of inquiry, it contains characteristics of the social presence, the cognitive presence, and definitely the teaching presence. So when you think back about those outstanding opportunities that we've had, they've all been ideals based on that framework. So now, you know, the challenge for institutions of higher learning is how to capture all of this and design innovation, policies, infrastructure, and leadership around those concepts of excellence to improve quality and success of online learning. But let's look specifically at what else they can do. So why do you think some institutions of higher education aren't successful with with e-learning. And if you don't mind, use the chat box and just kind of type in a few ideas. I see that Ian has lack of mission philosophy. And I think that is part of the issue because as a higher institution, they have to have a vision that's directed towards e-learning. And that helps drive everything else. It drives faculty training. It drives motivation of faculty to do it because maybe they're getting tenure or maybe getting a raise in pay. So I do definitely think it's lack of mission and philosophy. And Craig saying, I think institutions are less successful when they lift and shift in classroom instruction to an online format. You're definitely right. You just can't lift your class that you've done from a face-to-face and just take it, switch it to online. There is some adapting, some additions, some creativity that you have to follow. And again, going back to the COI framework helps the faculty to make that successful switch. So thank you. Here are some other ideas that I found. Not embracing disruptive technology. Some universities need to embrace change because it's the change that drives creativity and innovation. Status quo is very comfortable, and anytime there is change that's required, it requires energy. And sometimes people are just so overwhelmed and stressed and overburdened by their workload that they can't see past making changes because they feel like it's going to add to workload. But actually, sometimes that change, most often the change, will create even a better work experience for them and a great experience for the students. I have some other ideas here too. Students who are part of the learning community want varied experiences and the flexibility of e-learning. So we need to have e-learning that really meets the needs of the students, and it's just not, like Craig said, just the lectures that are online that students have access to, but something more in depth. And basically too, it's having technology but not knowing how to use it. That's a humongous issue for a lot of us. We have wonderful new technology, but we really haven't explored it to the depth that we need to. Again, it takes time, and we have to find time to do that. But with having an organization, having a vision towards adopting innovation, we can make time to do that. So the faculty mindset can actually play a big role in the success. So we have found from a survey that was done, that was reported by Carl Stromschen in 2015. It was an article inside the Higher Ed. He summarized highlights from this survey of faculty. And they found that faculty who taught online report quality of online education as being inferior to face-to-face. He also found that faculty are fearful of hybrid classes that combine face-to-face coursework with massive open online courses because they threaten traditional roles. And there was a few others. And I think the last one was 1 in 10 say that online courses are a better way to reach at-risk and exceptional students, but they're just not there yet. So moving on to the next question, how can higher institutions move towards success with e-learning? And if you don't mind, just take turns using the microphone.
Sure, this is Craig, and that's a tough one, but I think I think motivation of the participants has to be important. I think as we get early successes with online classes, that can increase the motivation of the participants, and the more accepting the participants are of taking this approach, I think helps with the results as well.
Okay, thank you, Craig. And Anne?
Well, when I think of e-learning, it's traditionally been a sense, the word has referred to technology. And I think it's more of a philosophical view. So given that, I think that organizations, universities especially, have to be able to provide the proper technology for online education to occur. But from a philosophical perspective, when I think of e-learning, I think of the engaged and enriched educational experience. And so it's like kind of E to the fourth power, being engaged, enriched educational experiences, then maybe even taking it to the fifth power of an online environment. And so faculty have to be developed, or at least the instructor has to be developed enough in models and frameworks of pedagogy that's going to allow that to be successful. And so in that community of inquiry model really works to add social teaching and I can't remember the other presence. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Cognitive. And so that kind of, those working in play with one another allow that, not just that motivation, but that back and forth drive to always aim for excellence and mastering ideas that will help be applied to make real world scenarios better. I don't know, kind of wordy, sorry.
No, and I think that's really a great explanation. And I really think, too, that you said that the online learning, it just adds. I think I heard you say that it adds, and there's like different complexities of it. And actually, you think of online learning as just being online, providing the learning, but it's much more complex in that you have levels that you can use, different technology that you bring into the e-learning. You have resources that students have access to. It's a neat and it's evolving I guess pedagogy, is that how I would want to say it? But it's awesome. So I think the things that maybe can also help with success is to actually look at core values of the higher institution, and again, having those visions in place in regards to e-learning, and embracing the change in disruptive technology, developing strategies to use e-learning. And not everybody has to use e-learning 100% of the time, because you can't. It's going to be maybe 50, 60, but at least you're incorporated into the education. And then you're changing the mindset of faculty. And then you're also rewarding faculty for leading e-learning. So anyway, thank you both for your comments. So is e-learning restricted to online learning also? If you think yes, put a yes. If you think no, put a red check, and Craig says no, okay. And Ann says no too. And I agree with you. E-learning is not restricted to online. It can occur in face-to-face classes too. Hybrid classes use it. So e-learning can be used in different ways. So in this example, you can see e-learning occurring in the lab. It can occur in a large classroom, occur at home. It can occur with I think they're called the Google Glasses. And in different varieties of situations, we can use e-learning. So most likely, there's going to be even other examples in the future that we'll be able to use e-learning. So while technology has provided us with many methods to deliver education, it doesn't necessarily produce effective or successful or quality online learning. It is how we use the community of inquiry framework to design and implement that will lead to successful learning. So this is just a reminder of our community of inquiry framework. And I want to know, what is the role of innovative technologies in higher education? Higher education is going to be more willing to adopt technology as it becomes available and trial it to look for better student outcomes. Once the faculty become used to change, I think we're going to have more doors leading to MOOCs and other types of MOOC type of education activities. So will most higher institutions adopt MOOCs? And then if you don't mind, explain why in the chat box. So, money, and saying no money, and Craig's not sure. And it's not necessarily, I agree with you. Probably not, and not sure. And I don't really think it's going to be necessary. You need the money to have the MOOCs. You need experienced faculty. And without that, you're not going to be able to do things well. So I think universities, higher institutions, can deliver quality online e-learning, but it doesn't have to. They don't have to adopt MOOCs. You can do it in other ways. So in summary, institutions have a vision and mission that embrace disruptive technology in order to make a transformation to an institution that provides convenient and less expensive quality education. MOOCs will continue and grow within some institutions, and not all have to adopt MOOCs to stay successful, but those that do will benefit from the sharing of knowledge and education.